Okay guys, in this video I want to talk about some more insight on my previous videos about source consciousness, and I kind of need to go into detail on what's called the left-hand path and the right-hand path, okay? Because I think that this is a related subject matter. So, I'm just going to get into this, y'all. The left-hand path and the right-hand path. Okay. Because this is important when it comes to understanding the practical aspect of understanding source consciousness, like, you know, with okay. To summarize and also break down the right hand path versus the left hand path, what you have is, with the right hand path, you have more of a religious tone to spirituality and a mysticism. Okay, and if you don't know what mysticism is, it's where you basically you're trying to lose your ego identity and merge with the source. It's like a hearkening back. It's almost, you know, a form of escapism, because what a mystic is trying to do is escape suffering by merging with the source consciousness. And they're doing it in that way. It's a denial of the physical realm. Okay? And if you look closely, this is what all religions do. That is the right-hand path. Religion, mysticism. It's trying to subdue and deny and reject the world that we are physically incarnated in under the divine. Okay? In that kind of a way. Now, what we have with the left-hand path is it's mysticism as well. It's seeking out the divine as well, but not in such a way as to where you're denying the pleasure of the physical realm. Okay, you don't just view the physical realm as suffering only, but you know that there's pleasure, there's joy there. There's importance in the fact that the physical realm exists, okay? We don't need to be stuck in this mindset of, you know, the physical realm needs to be escaped from. We need to hearken back to the source. We need to go back to the source and merge back with it. Y'all, that is like trying to crawl back in your mother's womb, okay? You see what I mean? Like, I just don't understand the mentality of that, the right-hand path, of thinking that way. Like, I don't know why that ever came into being in people. And I don't know, it's just crazy to me. You know, it may have just been born out of people trying to suppress other people by creating religions. But either way, you know, a great portion of society has adopted that mindset, and they think that way. It's very disturbing and sad. Now, with the left-hand path, we have that we want to merge with the divine, we want to understand it, but we're not trying to dissolve ourselves back into it, okay? We're not trying to basically die and become back to the source. Like, I don't know, that's just crazy to me. But with the left-hand path, what we're doing is we're trying to understand the source in the way that, you know, we are a child of the source. It created us. And there's no need to return to it, okay? It created you for a reason, okay? It's almost like, in a way, right-hand paths undermine the fact that the source did create us for a reason, okay? Because most right-hand paths say that there's some kind of flaw with reality in the way that things were created. They say that creation is flawed and there's something wrong with it that needs to be resolved and fixed. Well, I say it's your fucking consciousness that needs to be fixed and your perception of things, okay? The physical world, it does have suffering, but it also has pleasure. It has sadness, heartache, but it also has love and joy. It's how you use it, as well as, you know, how other people use it. It's in, you know, taking responsibility for this creation. So if you watch my past videos about source consciousness, you will understand that we are the source embodied. We're not just a piece of the source or a extension. We are an extension of it, okay? We're not just a piece of the source that's been separated and incarnated. We are the source itself extended into this temporary incarnate body, okay? So there really is no separation. It's just in your mind. So if we can understand that, we can accept responsibility for what the fuck we are doing with this life, okay? Y'all need to hear it like this because this is true. It's how you're using it. It's, of course, other people contribute, you know, but to a large degree, you know, you're responsible and you need to be aware of that. And so that's what we do in the left-hand path. We understand the source consciousness, we accept it and adopt it, or, you know, remember it, if you want to look at it that way. We remember that we are the source, embodied. We are an extension of it, without feeling the need to then escape from this reality, okay? Instead, we embrace the reality that we're in with the mindset of the source. And, you know, that's how we can shape it how we want it to be, okay? So in taking that responsibility, that is how you gain your power. And so with the template of the lucid dreaming, I don't know what to call it, but what I had described in my past video about source consciousness and how lucid dreaming and that process, that mental process, compares to being, you know, a person, but also the source consciousness at the same time. Basically, by becoming aware that we are the source consciousness, with the right hand path, it's almost like you're then trying to wake yourself up, okay, and come out of this life, come out of this world, come out of this dream, and wake the fuck up as the source again. With the left-hand path, we're more on the route of, okay, I understand that I'm the person that's asleep right now, or with the template, I'm the source consciousness and I'm extended into this physical body right now. Instead of trying to wake myself up and lose this reality and lose this life, or deny it, reject it, you know, we're more on the lines of lucid dreaming. We're like, okay, I'm in this, you know, temporary body, in this temporary lifetime. I'm going to enjoy it while I'm here. I'm going to make the best of it while I'm here. I'm going to create what I want to enjoy it. Okay, so it's more like a lucid dream. Okay, I hope that makes sense to y'all. If it doesn't, then like I said, go back and watch my previous videos where I broke it down more on that. understanding of it. But basically, that's what we're doing in the left-hand path. We're understanding that we are the source consciousness and that everything is temporary. It is an illusion in the sense of it's temporary. It has a beginning and it has an end. We're born and then we die physically. The source consciousness that we are is eternal. Okay? So, instead of trying to escape the physical world, what we decide to do is take responsibility for the experience that we're having, because we acknowledge that we are the source consciousness, and then we apply that knowledge and that power to direct our lives how we want it to be. Okay? And thus we change our experience from being one of, being dragged along by fate, the will of other people, other people's bullshit, how they treat us, how they, what they do to us. And we move into this realm of, this life is temporary. Everything is temporary. There's no sense to put some kind of grand importance on things that are temporary. And at the same time, we begin to shape our experience to be pleasurable because we understand that. Okay, I hope this is making sense to y'all. So, anyone who does magic at all, sorcery, magic, they're trying to make their will manifest, I would consider that person is on the left-hand path, okay? Even if they're not fully awakened, just the fact that they're trying to control things and exert their will, they're on the left-hand path for that reason. Someone who's on the right-hand path will be more along the lines of always trying to be subservient to the divine will, okay? And things like that. And, that they may find themselves also subservient to the will of other people because of that. You see what I mean? If you're in a state of constant surrender to what's going on around you, a large part of what's going on around you isn't coming from the source. It's coming from other people's will, like what they're doing, what they're choosing, what they're manifesting. And that is affecting your life. And so, you might be under the illusion that you're following the will of the divine, but in reality, we are all the divine. We are all the source incarnate. And so other people's choices, what they're doing, their actions, that is the source's will. But it's broken down into different layers because there's many people in this world that are not even aware that they are the source incarnate. And they're under these delusions and illusions and false beliefs that they are their ego identity, and they're following the will of ego identity, and that's the will that they're putting out into the world and into the lives of other people that are around them. And so these people who are on the right-hand path are victims to that. Okay? So, y'all, I just really need y'all to understand this because this is so important. All right? Y'all need to be on the left-hand path. Okay? And once again, like I said, anyone who's doing magic and trying to exert their will, to a degree, they're on the left-hand path already. But depending on how much of this divine knowledge they have, divine Gnosis, they may or may not be fully aware of their true identity. Okay, this is a process of awakening to the truth. Now, another thing which is the reason why I started recording this video, was that I had another dream visit from my grandma again. Hecate was present again, and this time the message was about committing to your ego identity, okay? Which might seem like counter intuitive or counter to the fact that you're acknowledging that you are source consciousness, but it's really not. It just follows along with what I was saying about the left-hand path to begin with. Look, in alchemy, there's a process of transforming yourself into your highest potential. Okay? This process, you know, it has two different parts. In the first part, you know, you're ascending. Okay? And what you're doing is you are following the right-hand path. When you're on this part of the journey, you are trying to merge yourself back with source consciousness. You're trying to lose the false beliefs about yourself and your identity in order to merge back with source consciousness. Okay? However, that is not the end of the journey. When you merge back with the source consciousness, that's not the end of the journey. That's just, you know, the halfway mark. What happens from there is you then have to descend back down into your ego identity with these higher revelations and higher knowings of what and who you truly are. Okay? But knowing that you're the source consciousness is not the end of the journey. And you know, that's just the beginning of the journey, because that's when you finally realize the truth. And from that point onward, you will begin to be able to live the rest of your life from that truth. So what happens is that your ego identity becomes purified, okay? All of the false limits, the negative patterns, the excuses and non-acceptance of responsibility, all of the negative associations and false beliefs, you know, that is the stigma of when you hear the word ego. All of that is purified and cleansed, and you're reborn into this new mindset of source consciousness. And you begin to see your body as a tool, not as a temple, but as a tool. Okay? I hope that makes sense to y'all. You know, it's not about the physical aspect of it. It becomes about the spiritual experience of it. Okay? I hope that makes sense to you. You know, basically what I'm saying is that your mindset of, you know, what can your body attain, what can you attain to yourself, what can you do to pleasure your body, what can you do to feel more powerful or wealthy in the material sense of those words, all of that becomes, you know, not really that important. But what becomes important is the experience that you're having with your body, okay? So, like, I hope that makes sense to y'all, but it's like a transition takes place from how you use your ego identity, how you use your body, okay? There becomes a cleansing and a difference in that area. So once again, like with the right hand path, what you'll see with mysticism and mystics is that they'll reach the source consciousness and then they'll just stay there. They won't, they'll just, excuse me, they'll just stay in this state of constant surrender, and rejection of the physical world and of their self at the same time, because you are the source consciousness, but once again, there was no mistake in creation. All right, the source consciousness embodied itself into this temporary body for a reason. It was not a mistake. So you need to come back into your body once you have reached the level of source consciousness. You need to come back into your body with that insight, with that knowledge, with that wisdom of your true self. And then from there, you'll begin to use your body as a tool, to shape your experience from that level. So, committing to your ego identity, okay, that's the lesson of this video. You need to commit to your ego identity. All right, fully commit to it. Because I know that there's a lot of people on the left-hand path that, what I consider the left-hand path, like I said, is anyone who tries to use their will to change things. Instead of just being in that state of constant surrender. So if you're using your will to try to change things, but you have not fully realized source consciousness yet, you're probably in this in-between state, because I was there before, where you are, in one hand, you want to surrender to the divine all the time. In the other hand, you're doing magic and casting spells and exerting your will. And there's this constant pull between the two, all right? Instead of being stuck in that state of in-between, or instead of being stuck in the state of the far right-hand path where you're just in a state of constant surrender and you never do magic or try to make your will manifest, really commit to the left-hand path and commit to being the source consciousness embodied in this temporary vessel. And then you will begin to be able to better shape your experience from a higher will, from a higher perspective. Because if you're following the left-hand path but you had not incorporated the right-hand path of attaining Gnosis with the divine, with source consciousness, you're probably following the left-hand path from your ego identity only, that has not fully awakened to the source consciousness yet. You see what I mean? So you need both to come together. And so, the ancient people knew this with alchemy. They knew this. They knew that you had to first, attain to the source consciousness, ascend yourself to that level, and from there, your ego's purified, and then it comes back down into your body again at that level, and you're just your highest potential from there as you go forward, fully committed to your ego identity once again, but with this higher Gnosis, okay? So, make sure that you are doing it in that way. I don't know if y'all heard that pop. And make sure that you're committing to your ego identity and not surrendering to the divine all the time, or what you perceive as the divine all the time, but you're not recognizing that the divine will is also manifesting through you, and every single other person that exists. And that plays a role in what is happening to you. So you really want to avoid the far right-hand path of being in the state of constant surrender, because you're denying, the fact that source is in you, playing out its will through you as well. And I think they're also deluding themselves in not realizing that, everyone who's living and doing their will, whether that be from source consciousness or ego identity, has an effect on their life too. So they're not just surrendering to the divine will, they're surrendering to everything, period. All wills other than their own and the divine. Okay, so you really don't want to be in that state. That's not a good thing to be in. And you don't want to be in the left-hand path where you're only using magic and working towards goals that are, not coming from a place of your own source consciousness, but coming from a place of ego identity and ego gratification. All right? You really need to merge both of these paths together and understand that it's actually a process. It's not like a path where you just, go right or left. It is a process. It's more like a circle. Okay? You need to apply it all together and utilize it in that way. Okay? Okay, so when we're talking about your ego identity and committing to it, if you want to view this, or rather, to give you an example to better grasp this concept of, understanding that you're the source consciousness, but also committing to your ego identity, you might want to view this or understand it through the lens of like an actor, okay? Y'all think of this as like actors. If you don't like the scenario, or if you just don't understand or grasp the concept of the lucid dreaming example, another way to look at it symbolically is like an actor. So an actor, they are their own person, they're their own identity, yet they're able to play these different parts. They play these different roles depending, okay, and what movie or what TV show that they are in, what storyline is unfolding, okay? And so you can understand it in that way as well. In one of your roles, you are a child, okay? You're somebody's daughter or son. Okay, that's one of your roles. You're also maybe somebody's lover. You're maybe somebody's wife or husband. It's another role that you are to play in this life. You may be a teacher or a student or both. That is another role that you're playing. You may be a witch, a magician, a priest or priestess. Those are roles that you're playing in other people's lives, okay? We are all a mix of all of these things. Okay, you may be a parent, a grandparent. You may be a brother or a sister to siblings, an aunt or an uncle. They're all different roles, okay? So understand that. When I say committing to your ego identity, what I'm telling you is, understand that you are the source consciousness, but don't do so in such a way that, you're denying the entire physical realm in reality. That's just ridiculous. You need to embrace your ego's roles, okay? Because once again, the source did not make a mistake in creating the physical realm or in creating you as an extension of it. It knows what it's doing. The whole process of the spiritual awakening is not for the source, it's for you to understand what your role is. Okay? The source already knows. And once again, you are the source embodied. So all you have to do is realize, what the source already knows. You have to realize what you already know. Okay? What is already is. And what will be is what you will create or co-create with other people. Okay? So commit to your ego identity. Understand that you are the source, but also commit to the roles that you're playing in this life. And know that, you're born into some of those roles, but also you may create and choose what other ones you will go forward with. Okay? And then just take that responsibility and then choose it. Okay? And so, what do I mean by that is, with this whole process of the right-hand path and the left-hand path, in the ancient times, this was not differentiated, I should say. It was not divided into left-hand path and right-hand path. It was understood to be one process, an alchemical process of self-transformation. And so what do I mean by this is, to summarize it more, understand what the source consciousness is. Okay? Understand what God is. And then embody that yourself in your own life, in your own roles that you play in the lives of others. Okay, you need to embody the source consciousness. So not just for yourself, it's also for everyone else that you interact with. Okay? So, you are the source. You are embodied in this temporary vessel. What are you going to do with that knowledge? Are you going to use it to, in the lesser sense of ego identity, are you going to use it just for ego gratification? Or are you going to use that knowledge to embody the source and then, as you're supposed to do, as we are created to be and to do, be the source to everyone in our life, in every relationship, and in every way. Okay? So, this is a process of understanding and coming to true enlightenment. You're not really doing it for your own self, for your own ego. Because as we have understood through these lessons, your ego identity is an illusion. What is real is the source. And that means, you know, the source in you, the source in me, the source in every single person that you have a relationship with. That is what's real. And the physical realm is just a physical realm. It's the physical body as a whole of what the source is, which is one consciousness and one spirit, and it's unity. And so, you know, going into this knowledge, you know, this isn't a selfish pursuit. That, I think that would be the extreme of the left-hand path. If you make it all about yourself, which is an illusion in and of itself, because you are not your ego identity, you are the source, temporarily using an ego identity. But I think that would be the extreme of the left-hand path if you went down that route. But in reality, what you're really supposed to do is embody the source, you know, for yourself, but also for others. Okay? That is how it is meant to be. That is the completion of the cycle. It's a process of awakening to the true self and awakening to it, and then embodying it for yourself, for everyone else, for the world. Okay? And that is why we are here, for that reason, in this moment, incarnated in this lifetime. Alright? So, I hope that that's a understandable lesson and breakdown of the left-hand path and the right-hand path, and how, you know, there's supposed to be balance between them, and what balance between them will achieve. Okay? It's just an awakening. It's just enlightenment and understanding of what you already are. Okay? So I just wanted to share this lesson because I thought it was very important for people to understand and know. If you have any questions or comments, leave them below. Y'all please rate my videos, you know, thumbs up or thumbs down, whatever. And subscribe if you like this content and what I will continue to share. And I'll see y'all on the next videos. But as always, please apply this knowledge and see its results in your own life. Okay? Blessed be.